Don't go in there, you'll become one freaky creature, monster party, eyes of yellow, scales and feathers, tails and tethers. Seriously, it's like that song was made 10 years in advance for Snoot Game. Hey guys, what's up, it's Umbruhh here. So if you guys remember, back in September, I made a video talking about why Snoot Game was my game of the year for 2021. And while 2021 has seen a lot of good releases since then, namely Tales of Arise, Metroid Dread, Halo Infinite, kind of. I mean, yeah, for the most part. And of course, my friend Peppa the Pig. But Reddit humor aside, I still stand by my statement that Snoot Game is my favorite game that has come out in 2021, and while it may be a small indie game that parodies another indie game, the amount of effort that went into this game, along with the heartfelt storyline and messaging, really touched me on a deeply personal level and made me enamored with the game. And let me tell you, the new content added in the updates deeply reinforces those feelings. So without further ado, let's get into this, lads, shall we? So one of the things I first want to talk about for the new Update 6 and Update 7 and what it brings to the Snoot Game and how it improves it is how they improved the choreography, they gave characters new sprites, and they finished CGs. And so let's start off with the choreography. When I say they've overhauled the choreography, I mean they completely fucking overhauled it. From the way the characters move, how they react, how they interact with the environment in a scene is just incredible. So here's a couple of examples of how the choreography is improved. So around the beginning of the game, during the scene where Nazer hears that the crowd is making fun of his sister, he quivers with anger before slamming his fist down on the table, sending the pizza boxes flying. It actually looks really smooth for a VN. Or when Reed tries to substitute his bed with concrete. Yeah, him passing out by the school. I mean, I need to work on my jokes. And in Route 3, where Sneed Reed turns on the school sprinkler, causing the various students to run in panic, flooding the entire scene with silhouettes of various characters frantically moving around the screen, which is a lot different from what was previous there of just, I think it was just empty halls, but now you have actually have sprites reacting to the background. And of course the new reworked choreography for ending one during the rooftop scene where you confront Fang after they've just killed 6 people. It just makes the scene even more heartbreaking and horrific. And there's even been a bunch of subtle changes to the choreography made throughout the entire game, which adds a lot more to the characters and their personality, such as when characters' sprites move when interacting with other characters and objects. So like when Naomi hands objects to other people, like maybe it's a piece of paper or something like that, how certain characters express their emotions. Trish's angry sprite sometimes shakes in certain scenes. Oh, by the way, she also got a new angry sprite, which definitely adds more to the pissed off factor of Trish. And in general, these changes really help the game feel more alive. And additionally, the new updates have added some new sprites which really help capture what certain characters are feeling. And they've even changed some scenes to have different sprites for certain characters. So, for example, before Update 6, at the scene where Anon tells the Fang Gang that he's so poor that he needs the lunch card, Trish says something like, "You poor thing," and her sprite before, which was neutral, made it sound sarcastic, but with the sprite being changed in the new update where it made her sound genuinely sympathetic for the sprite they used for her in that scene, it really changes the meaning of what certain characters say. Furthermore, in the new update, they finally updated the CGs that were previously unfinished. So like both versions of the scene where Anon and Fang leave Nazer and Naomi, Fang helping Anon at his apartment where they both admit their feelings for each other, and of course the heartbreaking close-up of Fang and Nazer's tombstones in Ending 1, which wasn't there originally. They originally cut that CG out, but they brought it back in Update 7. But it was really nice to see how these scenes turned out once they were finished. I thought they looked really nice. And now, let's talk about some of the new and or changed scenes for Update 6 and Update 7. So, The new sprites and CGs and the choreography rework wasn't the only thing that they brought in the new Snoot Game update. They've also added quite a few new scenes to certain parts of the game. Some of these include at the beginning where Naomi grabs Anon by the hand and he responds, well, by acting like a teenage male, or when, I guess, me whenever I interact with a woman. Certain dialogue was also changed, which adds more context or changes the context entirely. So now the salesman in Little Trudon is replaced by what is obviously Xavier Renegade Angel. And on the topic of new scenes, let's discuss Ending 3, which received way more content than any other ending in the game. So previously, what happened in Ending 3 was after prom, Anon and Lucy went home and danced in her living room. And that's where the time skip happened, right? I'm also going to be referring to Fang as Lucy for this part of the video. But in the new update, they've added an entire new section to extend in between the time skip. So this new section shows Anon and Lucy's final days together before Anon leaves Volcadera Bluffs to join the military, and they spend their last days together in places like the park with Nazer or at Anon's apartment, and this extension just really adds far more context to the time skip. Lucy cutting off her contact with her former friends and how she still hasn't quite fixed her inner struggles yet. And there's a great sense of dread that comes in these new scenes since Anon is leaving for the military and Lucy's gonna be alone once more, which she's very afraid of. And because the two have really grown to love each other and Lucy doesn't want to let go of him, like, they've grown so close that she even considers him to be more special than that Allosaurus dickwad that— wait, sorry, what? That was a joke line? Oh, okay, well, sorry to trigger some PTSD over that. If you know, you know. And there's that sense of fear that Anon might die overseas, so it might be the last time they ever see each other. But seeing how broken and hurt Lucy still is, the only thing Anon asks her is that she tries to become a better and stronger person while he's away. And that's when the time skip happens, which is pretty much the same if I remember correctly. And overall, these new scenes really help add more context and emotion to Ending 3 and really show us what Anon and Lucy are going through. And before the updates, Ending 3 always did feel a little bit incomplete since after the dance, 3 years just went by and we were left with Anon returning home after being in the army, and he reunites with Lucy after keeping his promise, but we don't even know what that promise is. And speaking of the original Ending 3 scenes, everything that the new scenes added really helps add a sense of tragedy to this ending. How Lucy is still broken after all these years, and even though it made it seem like she was trying to become stronger, or like she was going to try to become stronger, she faltered in the end, making this ending even more heartbreaking. But just like in the original ending, Anon and her are back together, and while she may be dependent on him, there's a lot more hope in this ending than Ending 1 and Ending 2, and there is a chance that they can heal together. And now, I want to talk about the bonus chapters. So, one of my favorite new changes, my favorite new changes that these endings brought, or this update brought, I'm an idiot, is the new bonus chapters. So these bonus chapters are additional short stories that unlock every time you play one of the routes. So yes, you will have to play through Ending 1 whether you like it or not. And I gotta say, it's worth it because I love what these bonus chapters bring to the game, such as hilarious adventures where Anon, Nazer, Mo, and Ripley go bowling— that's Fang's dog, by the way— and how it explains how Ripley is missing part of his crest, that fin at the top of his head, how Anon basically gets catfished by Stella and shows off his pad, so in other words, Anon almost gets NTR'd. The average PTA meeting at Volcano High, where we learn perhaps the biggest plot twist that the game could have possibly shown: Mr. Suki is full of shit. And perhaps my favorite chapters are, of course, Naomi's Tribulations and the passion of the well, you know, I know, okay, look, I know it's not exactly you know, so yeah, I'm just gonna call it Trish's chapter for the sake of this video because I'm a pussy. So what I love about these chapters is they help expand upon Snoot Game's antagonists, Naomi and Trish, and it helps the players learn more about them and understand why they acted the way they did throughout the main story and help us kind of figure out their motivations. And I gotta say, these chapters do a great job of helping us delve into it. So let's start off with Trish's chapter first. So in her chapter, you gain some perspective about her intentions and who she is as a person. And remember in my last video I mentioned how she seemingly could be interpreted as a person who's either well-meaning yet misguided or a controlling, manipulative shitbag. Well, the second chapter of Trish's chapter shows that she's the former. What she did is wrong, but she feels a great amount of remorse and guilt for what she did to Anon, which causes a rift in her relationship with Fang. And additionally, we get to see an insight of what her life is like at home. She has multiple siblings. One is a reference to Riley from the Boondocks. Wait, does that mean Trish is Huey? Anyways, so we learn that she pretty much is the adult of the house, and she has to run the entire household since her mother is working multiple jobs, so her kids don't have to go to, as Reed puts it, Rio de Janeiro. And her father is implied to be out of the picture, which could explain her distrust for men, which is shown throughout certain parts of the game. And based on what we've gathered, a lot of these can explain why Trish turned into the bossy, aggressive control freak that she is for most of Snoot Game. And one way that this could be interpreted is so many things in her life are out of control, and so the band, her relationship with Fang, and her identity is the only things in her life that she can control. And one of the main reasons why she's so hellbent on Viverne Drama's success is because she wants to be able to look after her family. And now, speaking of control freaks, let's talk about Naomi, the other antagonist of Snoot Game. So in Naomi's Tribulations, Fang, her parents, some family friends, Stella, and her boyfriend, who's an accurate depiction of the average Stella enjoyer, if I may say so myself, throw Nazer a graduation party. All goes well, minus the stare-off.
No, they don't.
Anyways, things go well until Nazer suddenly drops the ball on Naomi, saying that he wants to take a break. Similar to what Anon and Fang did in Ending 1, which this takes place in Ending 4 as well. All of the bonus chapters seem to take place in Ending 4, it seems, which, of course, this leaves Naomi absolutely devastated. And just like with Trish, we learn a lot more about Naomi in the bonus chapters. We see through flashbacks that she was a rather timid and shy, nerdy girl who seemed to be suffering from some self-worth issues. But when she became class president and received a love letter from Nazer, as a result, she became obsessed with the idea of perfection. And in terms of being the perfect student and the perfect girlfriend, she will do whatever it takes to make sure that she becomes that and stays that, even if it means manipulating and playing others. And later in the final chapter, Fang confronts Naomi outside her house, and let's just say that she talks some sense into her, but at the same time, someone attempts to comfort her. And although Fang also believes that her words are also comforting herself rather than just Naomi, who is also kind of dealing with just taking a break from Anon. And later on, the two would even start to get along well enough to become roommates in the Rainbow chapter, which is definitely an improvement in their relationship, if I would say so. Especially since in Ending 1, you know, Fang kills Naomi. Overall, it was nice to see that these bonus chapters really expanded on the two and offer some insight as to their characters and some explanation for their actions. Whereas she's a control freak because she suffers from a lack of control in her life, which is kind of why she is the way she is, and why she's so aggressive towards Anon, because Anon threatens that control. And while she may have had good intentions, in regards to helping Fang, her actions were ultimately misguided, and thankfully in Ending 4 and in the bonus chapters, she mellows out considerably and becomes far less aggressive and controlling, and becomes a lot more civil with Anon too. And for Naomi, her Machiavelli, mozzarella, fuck it, I'm not good with Italian. Her manipulative tendencies come from her deep insecurities of being a former nerd, which is why she feels the need to be absolutely perfect by pulling every string she can like a puppet master, as Fang describes. And while her actions were very questionable and self-serving, she did definitely love Nazer, and a lot of what she did was to make sure that she could have a happy relationship with him. And while the reason she got Anon and Fang together, so Fang wouldn't bother Nazer anymore, you can't deny that as selfish as that may have been intended, it didn't have any positive results, because it definitely did. So what I really like about these bonus chapters is how they've explored Trish and Naomi's characters and their motivations more, whereas previously it made it hard to sympathize with them due to a lack of context or backstory. But honestly, hat, plural? But honestly, my hat goes off to the writing team for continuing to do such an amazing job on the bonus chapters and the new story content. Although, one thing I did kind of wish that would happen with these bonus chapters or some of the new story content is, I kind of wish they explored more with Rosa and Stella, considering how they may have been a part of the main cast. They are two of the characters in the story that we know the least about, except maybe Reed. And the only thing we really learned about Stella was that she has a garden in front of her house, and that she was dating Chad Shark after the events of Ending 4, further symbolizing that Stella fans are the true Chads. But other than that, I felt that they weren't as developed as some of the other characters, and understandably so, since, especially for Stella's case, since, if I remember correctly, she was added into Snoot Game at the last minute because the only art from Goodbye Volcano High that they were able to find of her was a piece of concept art and an avatar from the server bot in the GVH server. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong though, because I'm not 100% sure about this. And additionally, one of the things that these bonus chapters seem to confirm is that Ending 4 is the canon ending, or at least all of these chapters seem to take place in Ending 4. And can I just say, I absolutely adored the scene in Update 7 that plays after the Rainbow chapter, where it shows Anon and Fang with their daughter, who the community has named Amber. So, let's get on to conclusions. Overall, it's no secret just how much I've fallen in love with this game, and how it just blew me away that a parody game such as this can have a more compelling title than most AAA studios, and an art direction that completely blows the source material and even other visual novels out of the water. The amount of effort that went into this game was incredible, frighteningly so, and I cannot stress this enough. Snoot Game is an incredible experience, and it's a story that I highly recommend checking out. Although if you haven't played it already, please direct yourself to the nearest hammer and forget everything that I said about the story. You guys want to experience this, like, without knowing anything, trust me. And additionally, the developers of Snoot Game, Caveman Anon, announced that they are working on a new game called Exit 665, which is described as a turn-based RPG with an in-depth tale full of trials and tribulations, charming and complex characters, and an adventure equal parts strange yet endearing and engaging, and I totally didn't just read that from their website. And I will be including a link to both Snoot Game and Exit 665 in the description below. Be sure to follow their endeavors and show them some love. Anyways guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Comment down below whether or not you had a chance to play the subsequent updates for Snoot Game, and what about them did you enjoy. Subscribe for more gaming content. I primarily make Final Fantasy XIV videos, but I love to make content for other games as well, including more possible Snoot Game videos, so stay tuned. And speaking of which, if you love the story of Snoot Game and want to see more, check out my story Bad Apple on Archive of Our Own, which is a fan story of Snoot Game that occurs after ending 1. It's a story of a man who has lost everything, but finds a sliver of light in the darkness. If I can make that sound any more generic and dramatic, what I would just say is just check it out. I can explain it a lot better than myself with words. So yeah, feel free to check it out and let me know what you think. Sorry about the lag. My webcam is stupid. Follow my socials and I will see you guys later. You guys are the best. Umbruhh out.